the wall will always be built brick by brick.
I mean, spaces are sensory. I mean, they are sensory things. I mean, they need to be experienced.
Understand who you truly are, because your journey can be as unique as you are. Architecture is a tough nut to crack. Wabi-sabi is a concept that sort of drives us to search for the beauty in imperfections. Every project is a response to people, to land, to climate, to surroundings. And architecture is not really a fine art. It's always walking on a very tight rope where it's trying to balance the economics, its response to the culture, then materiality, finance, technique, engineering. A lot of aspects sort of go into it. Experimentation should also come as a response to something, not really as a premeditated thought that
A warm good afternoon from the Architect's Diary, and I'm Simran Khare, co-editor at the Architect's Diary, and I extend a gracious welcome to TADPod. So TADPod is an initiative by the Architect's Diary where we illuminate the remarkable journeys of leaders with architectural brilliance. Through TADPod, we focus on presenting curated insights from extraordinary individuals, shedding light on their creative process, exemplary philosophies, and exquisite contribution to the built environment. By featuring discussions with visionary architects, TADPod seeks to broaden perspectives and shatter stereotypes on architecture. TADPod is more than just an interview series. It's a platform for thought leadership, inspiration, and action, driving forward the discourse on architecture and design in pursuit of a better future for all. Today, we have with us architect Satyajeet Patwardhan and Pashmin Shah, the co-founders of Amoeba Designs. Amoeba Designs is a young and dynamic firm inspired by the concept of Wabi-sabi, an intuitive way of living that encourages them to celebrate the beauty of a naturally imperfect world and aim to manifest this approach in all of their projects. Founded in 2012, they focus on creating ecological, culturally specific, and contemporary built environment. As a team of internationally trained architects, they bring global insights and best practices to their buildings. So without a further ado, we can begin with the presentation by Amoeba Designs and followed by an interview session. I hand over the stage to you.
Thank you, Simran, for the lovely introduction.
Thanks for having us.
So I would like to know, your journey through architecture from the initial embrace of the field to where you are today must have been incredibly rich with experiences. So could you share some of the key moments throughout your journey?
Key moments.
I think architecture is, it's a very difficult, I would say, field to practice if you are, if you wish to sort of work the way with the kind of work you believe in. I mean, it's very, it's a very slow process of, getting anywhere. I mean, so yeah, you just have to sort of believe in what you're doing along the way and just keep doing the things that you truly feel about. And yeah, it's very important that you don't get distracted along the way and stick to your core beliefs, and it evolves. Sort of you grow with time, you start understanding things better. Of course, at the early stages of your career, you often tend to be a little impatient. You want the things to happen rather quickly to you. And sometimes it does get on your nerves, but it's important to understand that nothing really happens overnight. And I mean, at the early stages, we always used to think that this project is going to be that stepping stone, or this project is going to change I mean, it's probably going to put us right on the map, and but
it's never like that.
It never happens like that. I mean, the wall will always be built brick by brick, and when we sort of look back, it's rather the journey that I would say is a key journey rather than the key moments that we can try and look back.
Right, rightly said. I think it's definitely the journey that matters a lot than where we are going to reach more than the destination. So I believe you, having witnessed the transforming design trends in architecture, how do you think the industry has changed since you have started your career?
See, we are amongst those people who have seen the social media world and the post social media world. So, I mean, when we started working, we really didn't have anything to look at. What we used to look at was look up to the masters who were designing and look for them for more inspirations. But what has happened now is, social media has blown things way out of proportions. It's not only bad; it's good. I mean, you can reach out if you have good work. You reach out to many people. That is one good thing. But yeah, I mean, I feel social media is kind of having like a fake idea of design. I mean, spaces are sensory. I mean, they are sensory things. I mean, they need to be experienced. I mean, you can't really look at a picture or like a small thing and understand the space. So that is just one thing we feel. And trends, I think trends are, they come and go.
They're rather, I think, driven by the companies to sort of sell something. It's more of a marketing thing, I would say. One should never fall for trends, because ultimately it's important that how you are finding your voice along the way. So that is something very important. However, like, I think the industry is getting organized day by day. I would say there's like more respect for craft, which is like increasing every day. And I think we as an Indians also have started finding our voices. I think that is very, very important, that like, the voices which are rooted in our culture, they're rooted in our land. And most importantly, they should emerge from the self-belief. It's very important that you understand who you truly are, because your journey can be as unique as you are. You can't really try and mimic anybody. You should never even try and do that. And that's why I say like architecture is a tough nut to crack, because what you're trying to do is not really trying to understand architecture, but also try and understand yourself along the way. So it's not a very linear sort of process, like, I do a job and I grow up in the hierarchy, but it's parallelly you're looking inward to understand who you are, what sort of work you wish to put out there, and how you're trying to find yourself through your work. So that's how, in fact, architecture goes.
Right. I think that last line, I'm going to be taking this back with me. I think that's something that's really nice and good to hear. So I think I'll definitely keep this in mind next time. So, so your design language is quite characterized by wabi-sabi, and it's evident in most of your projects. So I'm curious to know what mind space you are in during the design stage of any project.
I mean, like, see, first of all, I think it's very important that how we understand wabi-sabi, because wabi-sabi is a concept that sort of drives us to search for the beauty in imperfections.
Also, an overused word nowadays, to be very honest.
Yeah, but I think, but it's more important, like, you understand the core of it, like what it is trying to do is like search for the beauty in imperfections, accept the natural cycle of life, and it reminds us that, like, things including us and like life itself is impermanent and like incomplete and imperfect. So if that's the nature of us, then that's how our architecture would also evolve. So whenever like we are designing something, we are always in that mind space where we are trying to sort of look at the possibilities, like how exactly we are responding to the land and to the people we are designing for, because ultimately it's going to be the reflection of the context eventually. And if the context is sort of naturally imperfect, so that's how even the designs will evolve. In fact, perfect itself is a very, I would say, it's a very man-made word in a certain sense. How you define perfection? What really is perfect? Ultimately, anything that you can say is the perfection. There's nothing really like that. So I don't know what exactly we mean when we say we are searching for perfection. I think we just have to embrace what is there. And the beauty lies in what we have in the surrounding, how we are. And so it's almost like respecting for like who you are, what's there in your surrounding, what sort of trees that grow in and around you. I might like certain tree like a lot, but like if it's not part of my context, then you can't say my context is imperfect, right? Because it's the truth of the land you are living in. And then if you can't embrace that, then you're not really in the reality of it. You're looking for something else. Then you are the misfit in the context, not the context the wrong thing. Yeah.
No, and also when you say that what phase or what stage we are in while designing, it's more like, at design stage, we're not thinking much about a concept. What we are really, really trying to do is to understand our clients and to understand the context, and what is the site, what is the context, because marrying both of these is something very important for us, because we are building a house for somebody else and not for us. So it should look like their house. So we are continuously in that stage, in the design stage, how these two things are going to marry.
I mean, if you like what the slides we showed you earlier, like the stream house. The stream house happened because of the way we saw Nikhil.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't have happened otherwise. It's not like we had a template and we think that next project we'll do it this way. It doesn't happen like that. So, or even like the Goa house for Goa. I mean, like we wanted to sort of, it's a response to the context. Like that house will happen in Goa. It probably won't happen in Pune, right? So that's how it is. Like even that mud house or like the house around two courtyards. I mean, they all a response to something, and something is that the immediate context that you see around. So that's what precisely we are trying to do with every project. Every project is a response to people, to land, to climate, to surroundings. So, and at the same time, what we are trying to sort of keep our sensibilities intact. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why we sort of decided to name ourselves as Amoeba Design, because we never wanted to sort of be stuck in our own sort of image as well. Like, we sort of allow ourselves that freedom to evolve and grow with time.
Right. I think architecture is, you rightly said, it's all about experiences and about who we are designing for and the context. I mean, when all of these three come together, that is where I think we get such beautiful designs and beautiful architectural pieces. So having actively shaped the way people perceive living spaces with a fresh perspective, how do you integrate experiential elements beyond functionality and aesthetics to create truly immersive environments?
I think design is always a response to a context. Like, I mean,
I think you majorly answered.
Yeah,
the previous question. Yes. It's almost the same. It is context. I mean, context is everything for us right now.
And architecture is not really a fine art. Like it's always walking on a very tight rope where it's trying to balance like the economics, its response to the culture, then materiality, finance, technique, engineering. A lot of aspects sort of go into it. So whenever you are designing, like it's like the expression is often balancing all these aspects, and yet you are trying to create something which will still come across like a piece of art. So where all those aspects sort of go into the design, but when you experience the space, these are not the aspects which should come on the forefront. It should always be that immersive experience of the space, the way your mind interacts with the spaces, the way your body sort of reacts to it. And that's sort of the gist that you have to sort of look at, or that's what you're going to carry end of the day. Like in the house around two courtyards, in the evenings when we sort of sprinkled water in that courtyard, it just changed the microclimate of that house completely. Like we are smelling that like sense of soil, and I think I'm getting goosebumps right now, because honestly, there are certain things which you plan for. There are certain things which you can't really plan for, but they happen only when you have been true to the process of design.
Agreed. Right. That you rightly said. I mean, it's really, architecture has that power to, I think, evoke those emotions which you never even thought of that a space might be able to evoke in you. So I think architecture definitely has that power to do it to humans.
Then secondly, experimentation should not also be a compulsion.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, when we say experimental architecture, we don't really feel that what we are doing is experimental. We are doing what we really believe in, what we really want to achieve, and
certain things might turn out experimental, but it's not like a forced thought that next project has to be something experimental. You can't really function like that. You shouldn't be doing that, because otherwise unknowingly you're forcing the thought on the design. Experimentation should also come as a response to something, not really as a premeditated thought that like the next house we will be doing is an experimental design. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like that. Otherwise, you won't be true to your own designs otherwise, and to the context.
Right, rightly said. So as I look at the various projects that you have done, so your firm has, I think, already made a mark with some exemplary hospitality projects as well. So how do you envision pushing the boundaries of restaurant design and contributing something unique to the hospitality industry?
I think it's just that you carry the sensibility, the same sensibility forward whenever you're designing. We are not the people who love to fill up the spaces for the heck of it.
Yeah.
You know, we have never been afraid of empty walls ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they also, I mean, a decision of keeping something void or something empty is also a design decision. It's almost like you
No, it's a conscious design.
Yeah, it's just a design thought. It's almost like otherwise saying it's zero has no value, but it has. Only if you sort of plan it in a manner where you know why it is there. So even whenever, even when we did our first restaurant, like there were a couple of walls which were just left empty, and like the client had questioned that will it, like, is it okay? And we said, like, you know, it's absolutely fine, but that confidence also comes from the trust in your own craft. It doesn't happen overnight. You know it's going to work because it's coming from a very honest place in your heart. You know for sure, and that's also because of the control that you have gained over the design with time. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, whatever you do should.
No, in fact, if you see all the hospitality projects we have done, I mean, I think our what we do with the residential architecture that lingers in the hospitality too. Like as you said, I don't remember any of the hospitality projects have some unnecessary stuff on the walls that we don't want, right?
Yeah, and as you said, like you have to have a great deal of trust and faith in your process. I mean, your designs can only be as original as you are.
Exactly.
It's about a self-belief. I mean, we see ourselves as artists. So, yeah.
Right. So moving ahead, amidst the rapid evolution of technology in architecture, how do you integrate modern technological advancements with traditional design principles to shape innovative yet timeless architectural solutions?
It's a very tough task.
Yeah,
It's a very, very tough task, I would say.
Not the people, honestly, also who, what do you say, like.
I mean, it's not at all like easy to sort of reinterpret traditional design principles and integrate them with modern technology, because even the traditional principles that you talk about, they have been resultant of something, and that something was the materiality and the technology which was available back then, which was often limited by the materials which were available, you know, like 100 years back. So what we are trying to do now with Mud House is essentially the same thing, actually. And trust us, that has been one of the hardest project we have worked on, because see, you have to be absolutely aware of the the disadvantages, or like the limitations, and the I would say positives of both the things, because the traditional techniques and materiality has been there for many centuries, but then suddenly like the cement got introduced to us, and our thinking process changed completely. Now when you are trying to marry something which is the contemporary sensibility with the technique which is sort of, which has, or which was limited by the materiality which was available back then, now you are like at a position where they are at very different ends of the same spectrum. And when, how you sort of bring them together, and that has been a real challenge even for us when we started with the mud house project. It seemed like, you know, like, I mean, like, we'll just go with mud walls, so what? But then we had to literally immerse ourselves into understanding how things function. We did a workshop like where we understood like how the earth buildings are made, like how like mud walls are built, how lime plaster comes about, like what sort of limecrete roofs are made. So you really have to educate yourself. I mean, and interestingly, in practice, more you work, you know, you understand how less you know. And so, unlike when you're a fresh graduate, you're out there, you feel that I'm there to conquer the world. But 15 years later or 20 years later, you realize that like you know nothing, and there's still so much to learn.
Right, rightly said. So, with your career on a rise, what are your next steps? So, where do you envision yourself and your practice in the coming years?
I think we never envisioned
ourselves right now to be here. So I don't know what we are going to envision going further. But I think we believe in the process, as we said before, and let's see what we can surprise ourselves in the future.
So what has got us here, it will only take us forward. So we never imagined to be here. When we started, we just wanted to do good work, the work that we truly believe in, and that's what we have continued to do ever since. So when we had nothing, we never sort of never took up anything just to sort of make money. And now, though, when we have like decent amount of work, now we in fact have all the more courage to say no to projects which don't align with our sensibilities and where we can't really add value to something. So we definitely want to do something which we can be proudly associated with, where we can say that this is our work and something that will give us a great joy, and I think which will help us evolve as an architect and as an individual as well.
Right. Definitely. I think I myself have been like following your work since I was, I think, in the first year of my architecture, and it feels really good that I'm able to talk to you today about this. So that's really great. So, so as we get to the end of our interview, I would like to know what would be your piece of advice for the young practices and the listeners out there.
I would say believe in yourself. Believe in what kind of work you want to do. Just don't do anything and everything out there. Stay away from social media for some time. I mean, if it is your beginning of your career, I would really say, feel what you want to do. Go with your gut. At least for one project, study the masters, take good inspirations from what has been done, and give your best shot, and then go towards social media. So right now, I would say, little detox.
Yeah, architecture is an extremely sort of difficult field to practice. Like if you really wish to do the work, your own way. I mean, it takes a lot of patience and hard work to understand what it truly means to you, and it will continue to evolve for the time like you're practicing. But like hard work, sincerity, and honesty towards your work is extremely important because you're constantly speaking to yourself, like the truth that lies within you should reflect in your work in whichever capacity at whatever stage of your career you are. Of course, looking back, we find more mistakes than the better part in our previous designs, and which is the right way, I feel, because as you are growing, as you sort of mature, I mean, your sensibilities evolve. You start getting better understanding of your designs as well, and then I think that's how it should be. Don't be in a hurry to reach anywhere or like somewhere, because we're not in a sport where we are competing against somebody. It's like it's an inward process, and
it should be something you enjoy. When he's saying it's a difficult thing, I mean, if you're not enjoying anything that you're doing, then it's going to be difficult. So
definitely.
Yeah, and like I think it pretty much goes back to your first question that like I would again say that like never stop. Like to younger people, Patel, I would say that like remember that wall will always be built brick by brick. So nothing happens overnight. Everything sort of takes time. Be patient. Keep doing good work because it's certainly going to take you to the right place, or it will definitely help you keep you on the right track. And I think. Be patient, like because when you sort of look back, you should always feel proud about the journey that you took, because destination is where you stop. Otherwise, there's no destination as such. It's just a constant evolution and self-discovery, and that we all are walking the same path. Nothing has changed for us. It's not that like we have reached somewhere. We are just on the same path, maybe like few years ahead of you because we started early. That's the only difference. Yeah.
Right.
So questioning, it's very important to keep asking questions. That is one thing that I often tell even in our office, that whatever you are doing, why you are doing, those questions should always be there, because asking question always creates a possibility of answer. Questions don't guarantee answers, but they create a possibility. And if you have a question in mind, some other day the answer will come to you. So always keep questioning what you are doing, why you are doing, and yeah, just be honest about what you're doing. So that's pretty much, I think, I have to say. Be
Right.
patient. It's a long way. Fun way once you sort of start seeing the glimpses of what exactly you are trying to achieve, and that is sort of, those are the moments. I mean, if I have to again go back to your first question and
Yeah.
talk about it, I think those are the moments where you sort of start finding, like, what you're
Joy.
doing, why you're doing, and that gives you a great joy, that like why we are sort of doing this, and why we are putting so many work hours in office, and but you feel like deeply satisfied end of the day.
Right. Right. So I think it's all about the process, and I think if we enjoy what we are doing, we'll definitely not think about the challenges as something that we cannot do. We'll look at it as something that I want to keep learning, and it will shape me as a person at the end of the day.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It may not be enjoyable all the way. It does give you fatigue sometimes. That you feel tired, you feel lost, you feel that like what the heck, nothing is happening, but just be there. Sometimes it's just important to just stand, your ground, and keep doing the things, because it might be the next moment that you might find something.
Right, right. Thank you so much. I mean, those are some really great words that I think our listeners would also be able to resonate to. And thank you so much, both of you, for being a part of this today. And we are honored to have you. And thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.